Sports. I'm your host, Mark Minner. Ahead on this week's show, the men's soccer team shut out Detroit. The football team captured the Hoosier helmet, and the women's volleyball team grabbed a win over UIC on the road. But first, fans got their first look at the Butler men's basketball team this past Saturday after a Cinderella season that took last year's squad all the way to the national championship. Butler, who has a preseason ranking of 18th in the nation, played host to Division II powerhouse Florida Southern. The Moccasins led 6 minutes into the game, and it appeared to be a tough battle for the Bulldogs. However, Matt Howard helped lead a Butler charge, and they did not look back, finishing 90-70 in a victory. Howard finished with a team-high 19 points while only playing 23 minutes. Ron Norred added 14 points, and all 14 players on the roster for the Bulldogs saw action. Zach Hahn provided a spark off the bench with a couple of clutch three-pointers. He finished with 9. After the game, the Bulldogs talked about their execution.
Thought that was going to be the case coming into the game, so not a big surprise from our standpoint. Playing an exhibition game a day earlier, or probably a couple days earlier than we're used to, against a really good team who actually had one of their better players out. So talks about how good they are, but I thought they made it very difficult on us, and they're going to have a really good year. And thought our guys did some good things, and I'll know more after I watch the film.
There are only 2 men's Division I soccer programs that are still unbeaten. One is Louisville, and the other is Butler. The 8th-ranked Bulldogs were coming off a huge 4-1 win over in-state rival Indiana University last Wednesday when they matched up against Detroit on Sunday. The Titans were called for 22 fouls during the match as opposed to Butler, who just had 10. The Bulldogs were able to take advantage of the Detroit mistakes with a pair of goals and secured the 2-0 shutout. With the win, the Bulldogs are now 15-0-1 on the season and will host the Horizon League Championship as the top seed. The battle for the Hoosier helmet is an annual tradition between the Butler and Valparaiso football programs, and this weekend the site was up in northern Indiana. The Bulldogs jumped out of the gate strong in the first half, including a second quarter where Bulldogs piled up 24 points. During that period, there were 3 Butler touchdowns in a span of 5 minutes and 40 seconds. Butler quarterback Andrew Huck was 12 of 15 passing and threw for 186 yards and 2 touchdowns. Senior running back Scott Gray had 87 yards on the ground and a touchdown. After the shutout, Valparaiso fell to 0-9 on the season, while the Bulldogs moved to 4-5 overall and just 2-4 in Pioneer League play. It was the first time since 1998 that the football team has shut out an opponent. This week, Butler will host Pioneer League co-leader Jacksonville for Senior Day and the home finale. The women's volleyball team returns home this week for a 4-match homestand to close out Horizon League play. On Friday night, the women were in Chicago to match up against the UIC Flames. Butler dropped the first set by 5, but was able to take care of the next 3 for the win. Gina Vera had 15 digs and 50 assists, while Jessica Wolf added 22 kills. Freshman Maggie Harbison collected 12 kills and digs of her own on the night. Their league record now stands at an impressive 11-1. Butler will take on Green Bay and Milwaukee this weekend. Each week we talk about the official sports teams here at Butler University, but this week we will offer a unique look into one of the most popular club sports on campus. First up, it's Ultimate Frisbee. For more, here's Blitz's Ari Castle and Matt Rhinesmith.
Hey, I'm here with Derek Gall and Max Sapiro, 2 members of our club Ultimate Frisbee team here at Butler. So guys, just start off and give us kind of an overview of the team itself. What are some of the basics that people need to know about the team?
We've been a club sport for about 6 years now. We have guys and girls. We have pickup games and a traveling team. Our traveling team is about 15 guys and 5 girls. And Max is one of the freshmen this year.
And our team name is MFV, or Motors for Vacation. And we just go and play tournaments. It's lots of fun.
Derek, you touched on a club sport, Ultimate Frisbee being a club sport here. Can you kind of explain the differences between a club sport and a varsity sport?
Basically, there's no required practices. Everybody's doing it, they do varsity sports for what's fun, but this is just as an extra thing, to stay in shape, to bond with some teammates, and to travel around meeting other clubs.
So are there any specific plays or any kind of game plan that Ultimate Frisbee teams have?
We have stacks similar to like in basketball, and then we also have some crazy fun plays that are like the fire drill, which is where everyone pretends like they're on fire for about 5 seconds, and then when the person with the frisbee yells fire, everyone except for one person falls to the ground, and then the disc is thrown at that one person.
Interesting. Okay, Derek, any others?
Yeah, we got a couple everybody likes to end with a fun point, and you can either be a pterodactyl or a tyrannosaurus, and you got to keep your arms like that for the whole point, and it's a little more difficult to play that way, but everybody has a good time.
Coming up next, we'll catch up with Lance Rinker of the Butler Collegians. Stay with us on the Bulldog Blitz. Hey there, welcome back out to the Bulldog Blitz, joined once again by Lance Rinker of the Butler Collegian Sports Writer. Lance, thanks for joining us.
It's always a pleasure.
Well, men's basketball finally out on that court after the great season they had last year, culminating in that national championship. Back out there in their first exhibition game, taking on Florida Southern, 90-70 victory. And you were there. First thoughts from that game?
Well, we played really well. We won by 20 points, and I think Coach Stevens said it best. There were a lot of good moments, and there were a lot of moments we're going to need to improve on. But that's expected. It's the first exhibition game, so we're kind of rusty, and we're really trying to tune things up.
Well, the question coming into it was who is going to be your starting five. You've got plenty of players that you can fit in that spot. They end up going with Smith and Van Zandt in that role. What do you think about that lineup, and where are we going to see it go?
I think you'll see more of that lineup with Smith and Howard both in there at the same time. And Coach Stevens did that to kind of capitalize on Florida Southern's lack of height.
Right.
We oversized them, and we really took over the boards. We put it into Matt Howard quite a bit, and he ended up with 19 points on the day. So Smith and Howard, I think you'll see a lot of that. Coach Stevens said that's been consistently their best lineup in practice. But in terms of Van Zandt starting, it should be a regular thing. He just played a great game defensively and really stepped up offensively, which you didn't see a lot of last year.
And let's talk about the freshmen. There are a few of them out there going to make a big impact, going to need to step up for this team this year. You've got Kyle Marshall, Krishan Hopkins, Eric Fromm. All of them saw playing time. What do you think?
Well, they played like what they are. They're freshmen. And it's going to take some time for them to get their feet wet and get adjusted to this kind of game, the college game. And in an environment like this, they were playing in front of 5,400 people at Hinkle Fieldhouse. But Marshall and Fromm struggled a little bit, shot a combined 1 for 10, I think. Fromm was 1 for 7. But Coach Stevens commented on that and said he believes in the law of averages, that those shots will start to fall, and Fromm will get happier. He'll be scoring. Krishan Hopkins took 3 shots and made every one of them, ended up with 6 points, so good stuff from him.
Yeah, and you saw a little bit of Hopkins' athleticism as he flew to the basket and laid for one of those buckets. Now you take on Thursday, you've got another matchup against Hanover, another exhibition game. You saw them trying out some different lineups. All 14 players got in the last one. What do they try and work with in this next exhibition game?
I think you'll probably see that same lineup just from a consistency standpoint, and it's been working. But they're going to try to clean up on the defensive side of the ball. They allowed 70 points, and Ronald Norred was really adamant in the post-game press conference. He said that's not acceptable. He said they really need to take the defensive side of the ball personally. And, Butler's hallmark really for basketball is strong defense. So I think you'll see them put more of an effort on the defensive side of things.
Switching gears to men's soccer, a team that is only one of 2 that are unbeaten in all of Division I. It's a pretty impressive feat. They come off a victory over IU. They have a victory against Detroit. Let's talk first about the Detroit one, 2-0 on the road.
It was a big win. Detroit was right up there with us in the conference standings, so that actually clinched us at least a share of the conference title, I think, or maybe even outright.
Yeah, outright. Yeah.
Okay. So that was a big win, and then of course the win versus IU a couple days prior on a Wednesday night. I was at that game, and it was really thrilling. We beat them 4-1. And it's a game that we actually went into maybe as the underdogs, which is strange because we're undefeated this year. But IU has been a powerhouse in college soccer. They've won 7 national titles. So, and it was at their home field. And we were up 3-0 at halftime. It was just shocking the way we were able to really go in fearless and beat a very good IU team.
And that was a big victory for the RPI because IU was a team ranked very high up in that. Now, is this a team that you look and you say, okay, they're top 10 in the nation, undefeated, but then again, once you get in that NCAA tournament, anything can happen. Is this a team that can make a deep run?
I think they can make a deep run, but you mentioned anything can happen. Last year, IU knocked us out of the NCAA tournament. But to go into their place and beat them 4-1, that's a testament to how good this team really is. And I think if they can go toe-to-toe with a team like Indiana, they can go toe-to-toe with anyone in the nation.
Butler football, it was a big day, to say the least. 48-0, they win against Valparaiso in the Hoosier helmet. Talk about that one.
The score says it all. It was really it was a landslide victory. I mean, Valparaiso is a team, it's a program in transition. They've got a first-year head coach, and I think there might be some backlash to that change in authority. But we took advantage of it, of their inconsistency, and Andrew Huck had a huge day. And we had 2 guys rush for over 80 yards.
Yeah.
So really on all sides of the ball. Defensively, of course, we shut them out, and we posted 48 points. So it was impressive.
First shutout since 1998 for the Butler team. How did the defense do it?
Well, when you're up 34-0 at halftime, it helps a lot. You know, they shut down the running game early, and the offense was able to give them a big lead. And from there on out, they just focused on stopping Valparaiso's passing attack, and they did.
And it was a big night for Andrew Huck. He, he didn't play the whole game because they brought some reserves in. He did a great job. Does this signal a turnaround for maybe him and a turnaround for the team?
I think from a momentum standpoint, it definitely does, and morale as well. They've been really struggling this year on offense, and to see that kind of production should really give some hope to the players. But it should be said, Valparaiso's winless this year.
Yeah.
But a win like that was definitely needed for this team.
Women's volleyball kind of lost in the shuffle here because you have so many teams that are doing so many good things. Women's volleyball's been on the road for the last couple of weeks, and you kind of lose them in the mix. But now they're returning back for 4 games. They had that victory on the road in Chicago against UIC, a big one for them.
Illinois-Chicago is a tough team. They're in the middle of the conference standings. Their record doesn't really show how good of a team they are.
Right.
But they took us to the wire. They beat us in the first set, and then we won in 4 sets. But every one of those sets was really close. So that was a big win away on the road.
And now this team, who has only lost 1 time in Horizon League play, is coming back to Hinkle. What has been the key for them this year? How have they been so dominant?
Well, they're a really consistent team across the board, very well-rounded. They are in the top 3 in the Horizon League rankings in every category, barring aces and digs. So that's impressive. You know, they're really solid in the middle with Maureen Bamiro and Claire Radich. Defensively, they've been doing well, and Jessica Wolf leads the Horizon League in kills and digs.
Yep.
So individually, they're doing well, but really they're a cohesive group. And a lot of teams can be very talented, but if they're not a tight-knit group, they won't see success on the court, and we certainly are.
And women's soccer off last week, but now they're hosting it. And a surprise turn of events, Milwaukee loses. They win within a couple of minutes, and now they host the tournament this weekend here at Butler. The women's soccer program really turned around this year.
Yeah, women's soccer went into that last conference game tied with Milwaukee for the conference lead. Or actually, Milwaukee was up a game.
Right.
And Wright State shocked Milwaukee in Ohio, and we won. So we moved into a tie. Of course, we beat Milwaukee in Wisconsin, and we owned the tiebreaker. So we will be hosting the semifinals. It'll be played on Friday. We've got the 3:30 match in that one, so it's exciting.
Up against Detroit, big things for the entire athletic department. Thank you very much for joining us this week, Lance.
Thanks a lot.
All right, well, that will do it with our conversation with Lance Rinker of the Butler Collegians. Stay with us. Here's what's coming up at Hinkle Fieldhouse this weekend. Stay with us. Because of all the recent success of the fall sports, the next couple of weekends will be busy on campus. This weekend gets started with a hectic Friday. Men's soccer gets things kicked off at 10 a.m. in the Butler Bowl against Cleveland State. Then women's soccer will play their first league tournament game against Detroit at 3:30. Women's volleyball will be inside Hinkle to close out the night against Green Bay at 7. On Saturday, Jacksonville comes into town for the football team's senior day at noon. And then the women's volleyball team hosts the Milwaukee Panthers at 4 p.m. Sunday, the women's soccer team hosts the Horizon League Championship at 1 p.m. in the Bowl, followed by the first chance to see women's basketball in action in an exhibition game against Hillsdale at 2 p.m. Well, that will just about do it for this week's episode of the Bulldog Blitz. Make sure to catch us on Comcast On Demand or online at youtube.com/Bulldog Blitz. Until then, I'm Mark Minner. We'll see you right back here on the Bulldog Blitz.